Okay, well, thanks again for having me here. I appreciate having the opportunity to talk a little bit about myself. Again, I'm Becky Hall, and I would be honored to have your vote November 3rd. I'm running for this position because I truly want the same things we all do in this community, and that is a city that will do everything possible to see that all of its citizens prosper, all of its citizens. And how can we do that here in Duluth? Well, I think we can make job growth a priority again. I think we can do a better job of streamlining our services in city government that make it easier for businesses to expand and to open their doors and provide those opportunities for our citizens. And I also think that we can do a better job as city leaders, business leaders, union leaders, anybody who cares about this community come together in a united front that says, you know what, we're open for business, we're here to make the most for our citizens. I truly believe we need to do a better job of creating those opportunities with businesses and job creation. You know, my family, we consider it a dream come true that we get to live in Duluth, and the only reason we were able to make this dream come true is because of a job. And as a mom of 5, I would like nothing more than for my 5 kids and your kids and everybody in this community to have the same opportunities to raise their families here someday. But the fact is, we have far too many families that are struggling to make ends meet because we've put job creation on the back burner for far too long. And my experience in working with communities all over Minnesota, I've seen it done in large and small where cities can work very well to grow jobs for their citizens. So again, I appreciate your time. And I hope I can count on your vote in November. Thank you.
A few years ago, see, I keep thinking this is going to project. Okay, let me start over. If I put it up there, I think it's going to do that. A few years ago, in our city, we had a police force that should be around 170 officers. That was down around 130. So we're down 40 officers. That was due to budget cuts, and it was due to hiring freezes that had been imposed on the city. What this meant was that the police department had to figure out where they were going to allocate their resources. Where were they going to put their officers? They did the right thing. They put them into on patrol so that when you and I called 911, we were going to get a response from a patrol officer. What that meant was they pulled their community policing officers off the street, which do our preventative and our interactive community building type of policing, and they gutted their investigative units. And so the effect that that had on our community was that when victims of violent crime, such as rape, reported, they were waiting 6 to 7 months before they were getting an initial investigative interview. That means that we have sexual offenders in our community that are walking around without even an opportunity for accountability. We have victims walking around without even an opportunity for justice. This is an issue. I think Duluth can do better. So when I discovered this problem and that was the reason why people were waiting so long, I pulled together a community group of people, other advocates and retired police officer, and some other people who are interested in the topic. And we developed a committee, and we went to the city council, and we went to the city administration, and we brought them this problem. And we worked together until we figured out a solution so that we could get more officers into the police department so that they could refill investigations. We also worked hand in hand with the police department so that they would make a commitment that this would be priority number 1 for them, that they would put this into serving victims of violent crime. One thing I'm proud to say today, I could go on with the story, but I'm really proud to say, is that has changed. That we now have a police department that has enough people in investigations for violent crimes that they're able to respond to people within a couple days. That is the kind of thinking outside the box, creative problem solving, and persistence that I want to bring to the City Council. Thank you.
Once again, I'm running because it's time we stop talking about why we can't do things in the city. It's time we begin to talk about how we will. And part of that is kind of realizing the problems that we have in this community. One of the issues that was brought up tonight is tolerance. We have to do a better job of that. 2, we have to do a better job of actually promoting the things that are going on in this community. One of the things that I learned at the sleep out that I actually was probably one of the better stories I heard that night was after the workshops were all done and we were sitting off to the side, as actually Scott was part of the group that I was sitting with, and there was a woman there who was, was just there, kind of part of the event as well. And, she was telling the story about, I lived for 2 years in a van. It wasn't a big deal. I had 20 blankets in the back of my car. It wasn't that cold with 20 blankets. And I thought to myself, I'm like, man, I can't imagine living through a winter and being so positive about this, that, oh, don't worry, it wasn't a big deal. I had 20 blankets. I mean, and, she really was, very nonchalant about it. And the point that drove me home was like, my gosh, this is an issue in the city of Duluth. We have to work on this. We have to let people know about this so that the people who can really help these people out can. And I'm ready for city council so that we can get that message out, so that more people can hear about the people that are in poverty in the city. Last weekend I was at another function. I was talking to a gentleman about this issue. And he goes, oh, I heard there's only 2 homeless people in the city of Duluth. I'm like, what? And so I had kind of set the record straight on him, and I wasn't doing that well, to be honest. And then when I told him, the average age of a person who's homeless in the city of Duluth is 9. And he goes, what? 9? He just was just blown away by it. And then at that point, I was able kind of to crack him, to get him to realize this is a real issue. I asked him, have you walked down by the lake walk? You've probably seen some of the homeless people who that's where they're living right now. He goes, yeah, I actually have seen that. And that's how you get this to be real to people, because a lot of people just don't realize how big of a deal this is in the community. And it's by going and proactively talking about that we'll start to change this issue and move in the right direction. And I'm glad to see all the work that's already being done, and I'm excited to join that team. So thanks for inviting me tonight.